Good evening, church. How y'all doing tonight? Bishop, I appreciate you letting us have another opportunity. I can't say this enough. Thank you. It's really special to me that you trust all of us to speak to the church. Okay, well, Bishop said before, I am preaching, teaching, however I may do, on Prevailing Prayer. So what is Prevailing Prayer? It is to be persistent, fervent prayer that prevails or triumphs with God, resulting in answered requests and spiritual power. And the mindset we should have when we pray a prevailing prayer, you should be positively engaged and be resilient when you pray. Also need to have a persistent faith and should totally surrender yourself to God's will. So let's talk about some people who was persistent in God's will, who prayed these prevailing prayers. Let's flip to Genesis 32. We're going to read 24 through 28. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. As he wrestled with him, he said, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." And he said, "I will not let thee go, except thou bless me." And he said unto him, "What is thy name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. Jacob was wrestling with God. He was wanting that blessing. And after he got his blessing, sometimes when you get that blessing, when God answers your prayer, sometimes you have to give up something. Sometimes you are left with a spiritual battle scar. You know, he was limping, but he got his prayer. He was limping, but he's got his blessing. He was limping, but he got his blessing. He got his blessing. God answered his prayer by him prevailing against the angel, against God's angel, by fighting. Okay, we're going to talk about somebody else. 1 Samuel 1, chapter 1, 11 through 20. We're going to talk about Hannah, how she was barren of the womb. She was very sad that she couldn't have a child. Okay, and she vowed a vow and said, "O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, and will give unto me a handmaid, a man-child, and then I will give unto him the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head." And it came to pass, as she continued praying, persistent prayer, as she continued praying before the Lord, and Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but not her voice was heard. Therefore Eli thought that she was drunk. And Eli said unto her, "How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away the wine from thee." And Hannah answered and said, "No, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrow spirit. I have neither drunk wine or no strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto." And then Eli answered and said, "Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that hast asked of him." And she said, Let thy handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. And they rose up in the early morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to the house of Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her, because she persistently prayed. She prayed prevailingly. She didn't give up. And here's the best part. I love this part. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come, about after Hannah has conceived and bare a son, and his name shall be called Moses, saying, "Because I have asked of him of the Lord." Hannah could not bear a child. She was so sad that she could not bear a child, that she was grieved of the spirit. She was so sad. But She prevailingly prayed a prayer. She persistently came to the Lord every single day that she might have a son. And Jesus answered that prayer. And you know what? Samuel was the best prophet to be in the Old Testament, in my opinion. So sometimes, when we pray a prayer, you have to give up something. And that's what happened with Samuel to Hannah. She had to give him up to the Lord. But the Lord answered her prayer. Now we'll talk about, let's flip to Matthew 15, chapter 15, 21 through 28. Then Jesus went thence and departed to the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thy son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it unto the dogs. And she said, Trust, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table. And then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, but it unto thee even as thou wilt, and her daughter was made whole the very hour. Sometimes when you pray a prayer, Jesus will not answer you immediately. Sometimes he'll say wait, sometimes he'll say no, sometimes he'll say yes. But if you persistently pray, if you consistently pray to God, if you consistently be faithful to your prayer time, pray every day, Jesus will eventually answer your prayer. Jesus will answer your prayer. So I have come to tell somebody tonight, God is not ignoring you when you pray. Maybe he is telling you to wait. Maybe he is telling you no. Maybe he's telling you yes. But Jesus has not forgotten you or your prayer. Because it will happen in due time. It will happen in due time. Let's clap our hands unto the Lord tonight.